Start a small business. No need to work 40, 50 hours a week, slaving your life away. Obtain financial freedom, be your own boss, and create your own destiny. Moguls are the new superstars. The path to country club membership and a leased Mercedes-Benz is paved in gold as you take your business trips to Orlando or Vegas. Validation from your in-laws is just an LLC and Facebook business page away. At least, that's what they tell you anyways. Through social media, websites, and targeted ads, you're sold an image. Small business owners seem to walk on water. You'd think you're the last person on earth working a regular job with a regular boss. But there's trouble in paradise, and its name is in over your head. People start looking to start their own business, don't know what they don't know. But that's why we started our Small Business Confidential podcast, to share what we've learned from years of experience. There's not a lot of people in on this, so remember, dear podcast listeners, you heard it here first, off the record, on the QT, and very hush-hush.
I figure this is the best thing to do.
I got plans. I'm going away after, so for me the reward is maybe worth the stretch. But Elaine takes good care of you, you got plenty put away, you got T-bonds, real estate. If I were you, I would be smart. I would cut loose of this.
Well, for me, the action is the juice.
Go. Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Hi, everybody. This is Mike Riley along with Brooke Riley, and we've got a very interesting podcast. Well, I hope they're all interesting, but this one is, it's kind of based on one of my favorite movies, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Tom Sizemore, Val Kilmer. Just a great, great cast. Heat by one of my favorite directors, Michael Mann. And there's a great line in that movie. Not a year goes by, I don't repeat it like half dozen times, from Tom Sizemore. The action is the juice. So, Brooke, I know that's one of your favorite movies.
Oh, yeah.
We're not doing a movie review. We're kind of a free-form podcast. But let's talk just a little bit about the movie. What do you like about that movie?
Well, I love the director. Love Michael Mann. It's, it's De Niro at the peak. Al Pacino throwing 105 miles per hour. It's a crime thriller. I love crime thrillers. So I would say, in my opinion, it's the best crime thriller out there. And it's done by one of the best guys who does it. And it's just there's a lot of really great life lessons in that movie. It's not about robbing banks.
It's like The Godfather's not about the mafia. It's about father, son, family.
Like, I'll put it on and my wife will come downstairs and be like, you watched this last year? I was like, yeah. It's just one of those movies that I can throw on any scene. But there's a handful of scenes that are just, like the Tom Noonan scene when he's talking about the internet. The opening scene alone, with the truck, Wayne Grow.
Yeah.
So, if you haven't seen it, I would rent it on iTunes.
Right.
Tonight.
Own it. Don't rent it, own it, because you'll be seeing it again. Yeah, one thing that makes Michael Mann so good, Last of the Mohicans, Heat, what's that movie with Tom Cruise in L.A.?
Oh, Collateral?
Collateral. It's so real. Everybody in a Michael Mann movie is a pro. This is what these people do for a living. And I think when we're talking about being an entrepreneur, having your own business, it's a lifestyle. It's not, you can say, well, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be, this and that. And there's a definition about those jobs. You go to medical school, you go to law school. But for a lot of jobs, the job is like a coat you wear throughout your life. And that's what an entrepreneur is. And that's at the heart of what Tom Sizemore is telling Robert De Niro. He wants to take down the bank. He wants to take down the bank because he just likes the juice.
See, I see it more as, and I can relate this to business, the action of planning, of getting stuff done. That's what drives you. The cherry on top, the payoff, is the money. You know, I can also relate that to like working out. For me, the goal isn't to maintain my weight. That's just like the cherry on top. But that grind of, you know, running, going through that whole process, for me, at least that's how I interpret that line.
Right. You would be different than I would, because at the end of the day, I mean, I like working, but I don't want to be pounding my head against the wall. And we talked about that in earlier podcasts about making money. I mean, I've got bills to pay. You know, when I was a young dad, you know, had a mortgage, had tuition to pay, had to save some money, want to go on. I mean, you know, that's all. I had to make a certain amount of money. When it got really sticky, really bad, was when I was just making a lot of mistakes and I wasn't making any money. I was basically treading water to sit so I wouldn't drown. You know, I said earlier on a podcast about making payroll. I mean, that's a near-death experience. You don't have money in the bank. Every week is like you're scrambling around, robbing Peter, getting deposits on jobs, maybe hold off and paying a supplier for a week. Sub can wait, go out and sell another job. I mean, thank God for spreadsheets. You know, you can play what if. What if, get this job finished? I sell a job, get this deposit, wait on next week paying a supplier, maybe roll it over on a credit card. But you don't want to be doing that all the time. If you're doing that all the time, you don't know what you're doing. Now, once you start turning a corner and you don't have that pressure, you know, then you still like to be active, action. You know, you're still like to go out and sell. Now you got a little bit more, you know, room to maneuver. Now, Tom Sizemore, I mean, as Robert De Niro was telling him, I mean, he's got money in the bank. He doesn't need to do this for the money. He's doing this because he likes the action. Now, if you're a small business person or you want to go out and start a business, I think one of the things you have to do is, first off, is do a psychological profile. Like, why are you doing this? I want to be my own boss. I want to be my own man. I don't want to have to work. I don't like working in a structure. I love to cook. I want to have a restaurant. You know, I like working with my hands. I want to build stuff. Okay, this is what you want to do. This is what you like doing. Okay, we'll take it to the next step, which is, are you going to be able to run a business? Is this going to be the right venture for you? And that's what you're always thinking about. Is my time, what I'm doing now, is it the most important thing that I need to get done right now, today, this week? And I've always got to be thinking about it because I'm an active, action-oriented person to begin with. I don't want to have a boss telling me what to do. You know, I have an inner compass that's been developed for 50 years, but I don't want to retire. And there's a great line in Heat on retirement. Remember that line, Brooke?
Oh, what? Basketball and
or ballpark and
barbecues,
right? You should slip that scene in, A'marri. All right, back to you, Brooke.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Let's just go back to what you wanted to talk to, which was, let's just talk about what is the action this week for you. This is general. Let's not get cosmic here, but it's getting to the end of March. Real estate's heating up. Tariffs are in the horizon. The weather's changing in Cleveland. It's getting a little better, so the contracting work will be starting to grow. So, general thoughts for the week.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of balls in the air with, houses we're selling. We're in the process now of getting, the buyer's inspection reports back. So, what I'm going through now is sorting through all those. Yeah, I would say managing, staying on top of all the different paperwork aspects to selling a house, organizing all these disclosures and addendums. And, I have a pretty good system on Google that I do. So if I need to refer anything.
Like your checklist?
Yeah, it's my checklist. And, it's being pretty straightforward and direct with assigning work to certain foremen that we employ. And so I would say, yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the biggest, action for me this week. This morning, we had a plan of what a couple guys were going to do. I didn't anticipate it to rain that heavy. We had last night only a couple showings scheduled for a house, and I woke up and our realtor said, hey, we got 7 showings at the house that we were going to have these guys work at. So we had to adapt and, change up what our plan was. And I was spending time last night when I was driving back home, thinking of a backup plan. Because I kind of had a feeling that, that work wasn't going to actually go through. So we adjusted, we pulled a guy out to another house that's going to hit the market later tonight. So, yeah, I would say, that along with, the usual kind of accounting and dashboard work that you and I work on every week has been the biggest thing. I did a couple estimates. I know we interviewed someone this week, which was nice and refreshing and good way to kind of break things up. And
yeah, we interviewed a guy this week, which was went better than expected. Normally, when you interview people for hiring, it's worse than expected. Right, A'marri?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's... The biggest question is, why are you looking for a job? It's like the Groucho Marx thing. I wouldn't want to be a member of a club that would have me as a member. I thought that was somebody should make a sampler, knit that, and, frame it.
I think the biggest thing that I've been really reflecting on, at least these past, 8 or 9 months is, the whole idea of like managing my time, especially with a newborn, a young family at home. Because for me, the most important thing, like if, my wife calls and says, he's sick, or, the babysitter has the flu, like I could have a plan for the whole week and it could go up like that. And that's just the nature of, what life is sometimes. But I think I really like it, and again, it goes back to the whole, action is the juice. I really love that whole, I almost thrive better when life's a little chaotic. I find that it's like, it can slow down, and I like solving problems, and I love, multitasking, and it's funny you said, yeah, take a psychological exam, because there are some people who, scientifically, they are sharper and better when life is moving a little bit faster. And there's some that are like, nope, I need, quiet. I need to be at my desk. I need to, have full focus. So it's interesting just kind of like adapting to, work and life, with a baby at home. And so, yeah.
Well, I think one of the important psychological qualities that you need to have if you're going to have your own business is dealing with things that are unpredictable.
Yeah, 100%.
And I know a couple friends of mine who were senior VPs in companies, and they retired after 30 years in their respective fields. Maybe they were in the military, maybe they were working. One guy was working in a corporate setting, and then he went off on his own. He had this dream of having his own business, and it was a nightmare. He didn't know what hit him. He didn't really appreciate the bubble that he was in. He had a secretary, had somebody doing this. He could just delegate. If there's a problem with, hiring, you just send it over to HR. Let them handle it, right? Yeah. Wow. I'd love that.
Well, it's funny.
Who wants to be heading our HR department here?
I mean, it's funny. I have to call it a part-time job is a stretch. It's a very, very part-time,
That's your cycle thing?
Yeah. And I have so much respect, and I think this is, why I think the people who own that company like me so much is because, I grew up with you. Says, you started a small business. They started a small business. And there's certain people who work there who work in the corporate world. They worked for an insurance company. Some of them are teachers. So they're so used to that routine. And, they'll complain every now and then, when things change or a process changes, and they'll vent to me about it. And I'll throw it right back in their face. It's like, you have no idea what they're going through.
Right.
Like, who gives a shit if the calendar event got changed, like last second? And so it's just funny just interacting with, not fun. I mean, it's curious. It's funny. It's interesting to work with people in a small business who, have no idea what it's like to really be a part of a small business.
Well, I remember hearing from some people the famous line, somebody should do fill in the blank. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Why don't you do it? Because they, backseat driving, people sitting at the bar stool complaining. You can learn a lot about where somebody is psychologically, if they're they have what it takes to have their own business. Just listen to how they're complaining. Now, if they're complaining about themselves,
that's totally different.
Then you are the person that could succeed having your own business. Mm-hmm. If you're complaining about the customers, society, I can't find anybody, this guy won't pay me, on and on and on and on and on. You better go back to the cubicle. You better go back to the flipping hamburgers. You better go back to packing the truck, because you're not cut out for this. Because if you're going to have a conversation, you better start saying the word, I got to figure out what customers to work for. I shouldn't have hired that guy. I shouldn't have, I estimated too low. I should have charged more. I. That is that's got to be in everything you say. And the minute you start pretending that talking about other people besides yourself, you're not cut out. You should be working for a boss. Then you can complain about the boss. Right?
Well, it's funny, it's like we're talking about houses we're selling, and, reading through some of these repairs that, the buyers will want to get done. I mean, they paid well over asking. It's like, we'll figure it out. We got to get this shit done.
Right.
And now we, we'll look at it, if it's something totally like, no, there's no way I'm going to do that. But that's very, that's very rare. But it's like, hey, we got a problem here. We're going to figure it out.
Right.
We got to get it done because we need to get paid.
Right. Right. And we have to figure it out. And that's why it's so cool now to have tools like, the internet, YouTube, Google.
ChatGPT.
Well, now ChatGPT's coming. And I was hearing just in the locker room the other day, where I went swimming, guy who's a broker, he was just talking about AI. He said he was talking to a client. They had some problem in their business. They were trying to figure out how to do X, and they used AI, and they fed all the information in to this problem, and AI came up with something they never would have thought of.
Yeah, I believe it.
Never would have thought of that. And that interview, one of the highlights of this week was that interview we had with that 80-year-old guy, Irv, who brought in his grandson, Jonah, who's 21. You could not have written a better scenario. That's exactly who we're looking for. A young guy who's being mentored by his grandfather, who has 40 years having his own software business where they're writing software, which is what we did 40 years ago, with Uri and Mendel and those guys. And now we got this young guy who knows how to code. He can overlay that with AI, and we can develop this lifeboat in case our software fails. And the backstory for people here may sound confusing. We wrote our own. I worked with a couple of young Orthodox Jewish kids in the neighborhood who were like 20 and 22 in a language called Clarion. I mean, this is back in the early 90s. We worked a software language called Clarion, and Clarion for DOS. Then it was Clarion for Windows. Then it was Clarion upgrade. Problem was, the kid who wrote it, he got older. Then, of course, he got married, and then his wife told him, yeah, you're wasting your talents here working for this company. And he started when he was like 18. He couldn't even hold a job when he was 18. But we found him a job. He was kind of a resident genius in a way. But he had some problems. His wife, these people you're working for, they're all dicks. And so he goes off and starts his own business. Of course, he fails, goes bankrupt. Again, he doesn't understand what, his wife, thank God she had some money, or else they'd be homeless. But the point is we had to bring in a guy 20 years ago to kind of clean up, the messy software we had, which was all kind of strung together. Well, 6 months ago, the guy died of a heart attack. Now we got this software, but, we're backing up, 3 times a day in case something happens. So finding this young guy and developing a new kind of, taking our system and duplicating that, but stripping it down so it's more of a lifeboat than a yacht. Right now we've got this kind of yacht, but we really need is a lifeboat so we can do payroll, keep track of our customers, et cetera, et cetera. And there it was. And we were trying for 6 months, striking out. A'marri was talking to, who were you talking to? Everybody around the world?
Hey, let's stop here. We got to pay some bills. 30 seconds, and we'll be back.
If you enjoy listening to our Small Business Confidential podcast, we're sure you'll enjoy our first podcast, The Cleveland Real Estate Investor. We give outside investors an inside look into the real estate market in Cleveland. Cleveland has been on the rise, and investors from all over see those cheap prices and salivate. Our job is to educate those investors and steer them in the right direction with several years of experience of how to do it right and many examples of how to do it wrong. Find the Cleveland Real Estate Investor podcast on any app you listen to your podcast today.
Everyone, yeah. Some Syrian programmers, people on a Clarion hub, just the whole Clarion community.
It was nice to meet someone.
Yeah.
Put a face to the name.
Yeah.
I mean, that conversation and a couple emails was far more productive than 30 emails of screenshots, screen recordings, and still at the end of the day, somebody's got to get remote access to your computer, and you can't schedule something there, 12 hours difference in the time. And
well, that's the action. The action is we're trying to problem solve. We're trying to problem solve. And that's been what we've been doing. I mean, what I started 50 years ago is I got to figure out how to make some money. Well, people say, hey, will you paint my garage? Yeah, I'll do that. While you're at it, will you empty my basement? Will you do this? Will you do this? Will you do this? Pretty soon I'm figuring out, yeah, nobody's doing it. We'll do it. I'll do it. I'll get some guys. I'll show them how to do it. But that mentality stays with you. Like, this new house my wife and I moved into a year and a half ago after 41 years in our old house. I mean, this house is amazing. But there's all these little things to fix. Koi pond, 2-level koi pond, swimming pool that hasn't been used in 4 years. We got to put a new liner in there. Tree fell on a gate. Fence ruined like 4 pieces in this long fence. What do we do there? The awnings were shot, these 2 black awnings. I'm looking online. I'm finding, hey, I just buy the canvas online. I'll buy the canvas online. We'll hook it, we'll rig it up, and we'll paint it black. And now it'll match. We did the other one in black yesterday. It came out perfect. We learned how to drain the 2-level koi pond. And we've got some guys who are real, they can, they're not like me. They can take apart a watch and put it back together. They can fix it. They just are, one of those guys that, they have the aptitude to work with their hands. And now you marry them with, Google and YouTube and maybe even AI. And all of a sudden we can be doing repairs at these old houses that nobody can do. They can't get anybody to do it. So instead of dropping, $5,000 on a couple of new awnings, we'll do it for $500. We'll put the canvas on, we'll paint it, the color. Done. But that kind of action, where you're problem solving the software, you're problem solving. All right, what do we do to sell a house? What do we do when we're going out? We're doing an estimate, and you're telling people, well, you don't need to do that. You can do this instead, then you can do this instead. And all of a sudden they're looking at you. Where have you been all my life? This is like our young guy yesterday. He's there in front of you. The answer is there. Now, we think it's there. And we got Grandpa. Grandpa better not die of a heart attack. Okay? If he's listening, you'll go anywhere. We need you there. But, that you need to be able to be comfortable with change and a little disruption from day to day, not every day. Because if it's every day, then you don't know how to plan. Then you don't know how to organize. You don't know how to script your day. It's like when you go to the grocery store and you keep forgetting milk, or you forget this, or you forget this. You know what? You're not writing it down, you idiot. Write it down on a piece of paper. Think about it, add to it, and then when you're there, start crossing it off. And guess what? You won't forget the milk. But to wrap this rant all up, it starts with you. You got to make the change. You got to write down what we need. You got to keep pushing for that programmer. Don't throw up your hands and say, oh, I've done everything that I could. No, you didn't. We put an ad in the Jewish News, right? We tried something different. And all of a sudden, there it was. It's like 40 years ago. We put an ad in the Jewish News for a programmer to help. And he shows up, right? Back to you, Brooke. I'm done freelancing here.
I think, one thing that I am learning how to navigate is, and you'll find this funny, is my weekends, with my wife, and just like the chores that we have to get done. Now,
The honey-do list.
I grew up, I remember I'd wake up and I would see in black Sharpie the chores I had to get done.
Is that what I did?
Oh, yeah. On the butcher block counter. You have Brooke, Lindsay, Travis. And
Yeah, you were the guy that was pouting all the time.
clean storm windows, cut fire. Yeah, no, but that carried over into my adult life. And I think at the time, I, didn't like doing it because I wanted to, hang out with my friends or watch movies all day. But so bring that back now, with my wife and, our family where, we know, okay, we got a wake window from, he naps from 10 to 12. So 10 to 12, like that's like, we better be getting shit done.
Right.
3 to 4:30, another nap. We better be getting shit done. Now, I'm the person on Friday night, okay, Saturday, I teach, go to Costco, laundry, sweep, mop, dog poop. I'm just writing everything down. I just love doing that.
Right.
I love making these lists. I love crossing it off. And where my wife will do that, but she'll kind of start something, get it to like 80%, and then be like, well, I got to stop. I'm getting a little overwhelmed here. And a lot of it's like,
Marriage counselor.
So I've like learned, what before I'd be like, no, come on, like we got to get this done. We got to get the, and now I'm kind of like, it's funny, like navigating that. And, I'm not going to tell my wife, hey, make sure you get your chores done. I don't want to do that.
Well, that's a funny thing. Hey, guys out there, this is for you. Women, earmuffs. Guys are being told all the time what to do by their wives, right? Am I missing something? I'm seeing these on commercials and movies, and guys say, my wife wants me to do this, my wife wants me to do that. And I'm thinking, wait a minute here. If you said, honey, I got your list all ready for you this morning,
You're toxic.
You're a controlling man from the planet Mars.
They'll manipulate.
They'll manipulate.
Well, it's like, our second floor, it's a bit of a mess, because we're moving rooms and it's been kind of
Our old house
a nightmare.
is a mess. That's why I don't go up the second floor.
And it's just driving us crazy. So, we set a plan. We know what we're going to do next weekend. I mapped it all out. We got a babysitter. I'm taking Saturday off. I'm not going to teach. I'm just focusing on getting that done. And it's funny how we'll be talking and she'll be like, well, yeah, let's have a nice family Saturday and Sunday. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? I'm looking at my list, like, I got dog poop to pick up. I got to walk these dogs. I got to sweep and mop the house. I got to talk to Lauren about these houses, so I'm learning to navigate, like, it's important to be flexible and to be like, yeah, hey, Saturday, late afternoon, let's go, to the aquarium down in the flats, drop them off at your house, go out to dinner. Yeah, I've learned to be more flexible. I think in the past, when I was getting sober, I was so just strict with my routine because it helped me early on.
Right.
I was told, like, get a routine. And for me, who was so anti-routine, I was like, well, what I was doing in the past, that wasn't working. So maybe I should try what some of these people are suggesting and go figure. It helped me. So I've kind of taken that to an extreme, and now I've kind of learned, like, it's important to be flexible. But at the end of the day, it's like, look, honey, I get it, but we got to get this stuff done, So
that's the tricky part, because when you were talking about, you have a list, think about if you had your own business. I remember learning a long time ago, really saved my business, is everybody that I hired, and A'marri will appreciate this. They could never make it in Monday to Friday, 5 straight days showing up for work. There was always something, but they always wanted to get paid on Friday. You know what? No old lady got hit by a car on Friday and went to the emergency room. Nobody was sick Friday at 5 o'clock. If there was a snowstorm, a blizzard, everybody got to the office at 5 to pick up the check. Okay? If there was one snowflake on a Monday or Tuesday, literally a snowflake, I don't know, man, my car's not starting, right? Well, I adopted this attitude. Now, you can't do that with when you're married or whatever. But the attitude was, you know what? I don't care what the reason is anymore. You can call me from the emergency room. I'll take the call. I'll buy that. Everything else, no. And if you miss a day, your check's on Monday, not on Friday, because I can't finish this job. I can't collect it. So besides being able to be flexible with the chaos that life presents you, which is just the way it is, it's like injuries in football. On the other hand, you have to be a little bit of a dick as a boss. All right? This is business. This is not, I'm not adopting you. I'm not your dad. I'm not going to listen to, I don't care. I don't care if you're dying, okay? I really don't care. I got to meet payroll, right? And as soon as you accept that, then guess who's getting a raise? Guess who's getting promoted? Is people that share that ethic. We got to get this job done. And you don't have to yell and scream about it. In fact, don't get upset if they don't share the same motivation that you have. Because you're the owner. You're the one. Of course, you're motivated because you're making more money if it goes, better. But at a certain point in time, you got to draw a line. And I know that's the tricky part of, when it's your family, you can't tell them what to do. They don't work for you. I get that. But on the other hand, you're making an adjustment and you can't tell them what to do, but you have to be realistic about what your assumptions are. And you're also talking about people that have been raised differently. I mean, I raised you. I raised you like my dad raised me. Here's the work. Get it done. Now, nowadays, okay, earmuffs, ladies. This is just for you guys out there. Nowadays, you have to explain to the kid why it's important to do the job. Well, I've probably said this earlier in the podcast. No, I have an explanation because I told you to do it. That's the explanation. Now, maybe we'll have this moment 30 years later where I'm talking to my son who finally gets it. But when they're an 8, 9, 10-year-old, guess what? They're not an adult. They don't get it. Okay? I'm not here to explain to them why. It's real simple. It's like you don't give an 8-year-old calculus. You give them math. 2 + 2 is 4. Here's the math. You don't get the room done. You don't go out. Right? That's real simple. Okay? And they get it. Now, they're not going to like it, but
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Did I ever tell you that when you were growing up? Did you ever hear that rant or you remember that? I
remember he did that to Travis once where you told him to clean his room and he probably
yeah, whatever, Dad.
Kind of half-assed it.
Smiled, made a joke, didn't do it.
Yeah. And then he was like, hey, I'm ready to go. And you told me something where you said, oh, you're not going because you didn't clean your room. So.
And you know what was funny? It was the last time I ever had to have that conversation. It's amazing. It's amazing how that works. But you know what? Whether you're parenting, you're in a marriage, you're running a business, there is some common denominators. You got to understand your audience. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go around, drop and give me 20 to everybody working here. You got to have a certain subtlety. You have to understand how they're internalizing the message. There is some sort of bottom floor, like your kids, your wife, your employees, your customers, people you deal with. I expect to be treated with respect, period. And in turn, I'm going to be respectful with people. But I'm not going to, I see some of these half-ass dads and husbands out there, the kids, the wives. I mean, treat these guys like idiots, and it's pathetic. So they're, like a lot of things in politics now, can we get a middle ground, a rational, reasonable solution? We need immigration. We need people coming in to this country who want to work hard, who are smart, who are ambitious. That's what makes America great. But we don't want open borders, okay? So when you deal with having your own business, and this will be my final thought, you're really at the center of what life's about, because you're very active. Your values are being channeled into your business if you're running your own business. When you work for somebody else, they're enforcing their values on you. And for a lot of people, that's what I want. I just want to, you know what, you hear these contractors say this all the time when they come in, after they just been, working 7 days and trying to get this job done, and then they get stiffed. They don't get paid. They come home, they tell the wife, and the wife says, honey, is this really worth it? You need to go work for somebody. And then you got a paycheck, and everybody's happy. You do. I mean, we have a lot of great guys working in this company who are like that. They're not everybody can be the chief of the tribe, but we treat them with respect. They're making more money working for us than they would on their own. And they come into work. Everything's here. The tools are here. The truck's working, right? And they're doing what they like to do. And that's a win-win. Everything's got to be a win-win. It's got to win for you. It's got to win for your customers. It's got to win for, your family and friends. And that's the ultimate value. You treat people like you would want to be treated.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
Final thoughts, Brooke?
No, it's a good topic. I think that there should be some commonality, cohesiveness between, what you're like at work, what you're like at home, what you're like in your personal time. So yeah, no, this was a very, very helpful topic to kind of vent about.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thanks, A'marri. String it together. All right, folks, we'll be seeing you down the road with another fun-filled podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Small Business Confidential. To support, please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Also add our podcast to your favorite streaming services. Everything is appreciated, and we'll be back soon with another episode and upload schedule. The person voicing the intro's name is Travis Riley. Thank you, Travis. And the music was done by our engineer, me, A'marri.